Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another What If discussion. Today, I am your host, Golden Scouter, and as well with me, I have two guests, and their names are MJ from GeekListTV and Mark from Reel to Reel Productions. How are you doing, guys?
MJ?
I'm doing alright. I thought you were going to go first.
No, like he introduced you first. That'd be super rude. Anyway, what's up, Scouter? MJ's rude. That's whatever. What's up, Scouter? Always good to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
Yep, thank you guys for coming on. But as I was saying, guys, we have a what if scenario. So what if Raditz actually surrendered to Goku and Piccolo? But first, before we move on with the discussion, we have to clarify something. In order for this what if scenario to happen, Raditz's personality has to be slightly altered. And if any of you have seen that one fan manga where it tells the story of Raditz's origin, you would see that Raditz actually has more of a heart in that manga compared to the actual canon, quote unquote. So, if this were to actually happen, guys, what do you think would happen? And start with you, Reel to Reel.
Oh, okay. So you throw me under the bus. All right. Okay, we were talking before we actually started recording this, and I guess, it depends on how you really want to approach this, and I guess we all have our own ideas, or we're going to basically just differ from each other, one or the other, whatever. I personally think that he comes to Earth, you have him be a little bit more sympathetic, obviously change the inconsistencies there that don't necessarily add up to a whole lot, and goes there. I would think the same way he would challenge Goku for the most part. Challenge Goku, Piccolo would join in because, like, at the same time he's going around there, he finds Piccolo by accident, challenges him, almost kills him before getting distracted by Goku. Maybe even taking Gohan, putting him up into like the villain role. And then around the same time, I guess we can all kind of agree about the time that Goku and Piccolo are getting the upper hand, he kind of decides to change his ways, and instead of being a prick about it, he actually is sincere and honest. At that point, considering the fact that they would have made a truce or something like that, you have Goku and Piccolo and Raditz basically all being very chummy with each other, and because Goku doesn't die, because there's no reason to actually bring up the Dragon Balls anymore, the question then becomes whether or not Vegeta and Nappa are actually going to basically go out of their way in order to travel a year out of their lives to go to Earth. And, man, like, if there's no reason to bring it up, I don't necessarily see exactly how it helps the matter one way or the other. And I'm not necessarily sure why they're going there, so do y'all have an idea of exactly why you think that Vegeta and Nappa would actually go there? Or do you think the story would take a completely 180 direction into some other territory?
Well, first let's hear from MJ. What do you think would happen? What are your first thoughts?
Well, obviously, it comes from when exactly does this babyface turn actually happen. Now, we know he's a bad guy, but you're talking about an alternate personality. Like, so when does it actually happen? Because if it happens during the first Special Beam canon, if we're following the canonized version, I hate that word, but if we're following the canonized version of the original manga, Gohan hasn't attacked him yet. So if it happens before then that means Piccolo would not be wanting to train Gohan because he would not have seen Gohan's outburst. They would probably see it later, down the line, but they would not see it in that fight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's another big question too. But another one is actually, like what Realtor was bringing up. If it happens there and, obviously Raditz doesn't die and then Goku doesn't die, no one gets hit with the Special Beam Cannon or the Makanko Sapo, then that obviously means then Vegeta and Nappa wouldn't hear about the Dragon Balls, and that makes me wonder, would they even want to go to Earth? Because a lot of people have this funny idea that Vegeta, I guess, does care about the Saiyans, and I guess he does to a degree, even though most of the time that we see him talk about the Saiyans, he's talking shit about them, saying that, his dad's like a worthless piece of that he passed when he was a kid, and then talking about like how Raditz is like equal to a Cyberman, and they're laughing about it. So it's like
savage.
It's like what motivation would they really even have to go to Earth? Like, would they want to go because this planet that Raditz brought up is just so darn powerful that they would need Goku and Raditz to take care of it? I would just imagine the fact that, because you gotta look at it from this point of view from later in the story, Frieza ruled the most of the universe with an iron fist with his first form. Even like, you know, Beerus was not, I don't want to say Beerus was you know, I guess praising Frieza for his power, but I mean, he was shocked when he found out someone could defeat a full power Frieza. So the fact that Frieza in his first form, which is 530k, ruled most of the universe with an iron fist and people were scared of him, and the fact that he called his number 2 guy only had a power level of 120k, which is Ginyu, I mean, Vegeta at an Uzaru would be at over 180,000. So I don't see why, like, what planet out there was so powerful that an Uzaru Vegeta couldn't handle. You know what I mean? It's very, like, it makes me wonder, would that motivation really be there, that they need Raditz, they need Goku to help them take out. If they don't need that, then I don't see them even going to Earth, because they would never have heard about the Dragon Balls, you know? In my opinion.
Well, I actually see a scenario where they might have actually heard about the Dragon Balls. Because in my head, where if this were to actually happen from a storytelling perspective, maybe Raditz would have actually, whenever Goku let go of Raditz's tail, Raditz might have actually gotten up and, I don't know, actually surrendered at that point, like I had said. Like, what if he actually surrendered? And at that point, Piccolo has the Makanko Seppo fully charged up, and Goku sees that Raditz is actually willing to surrender. But Piccolo is actually seeing that, like, Raditz is still here. He's still a threat to my world domination.
Oh,
because remember that
okay, all right.
Piccolo's not yet reformed at this point, so Piccolo fires the Makanko Seppo at Raditz, and Goku actually pushes Raditz out of the way, taking the blast. And at this point,
hashtag in the face.
And at this point, since Raditz's character is altered and he actually gives a shit about his brother, he's actually like, no, how could you do this? Like, I surrendered and all this kind of stuff. And, like, I was just trying to get my brother on the team with me and my other comrades. And then Piccolo ends up being like, well, he ends up talking about the Dragon Balls then. And so then Nappa and Vegeta end up hearing the whole conversation, like the whole beginning, and then say everything happened, like Goku going over to Kaio and stuff like that. So everything happens, and Raditz is actually dedicated to getting his brother alive, and naturally Piccolo can't, like, phase Raditz because he's much, much weaker than him. So I think after time of, like, Raditz and Piccolo and all them training, like, how they were for the Saiyans in the first time, I think that, I don't know, just 2 scenarios I think would happen. 1, Nappa and Vegeta arrive to Earth, and they deem Raditz as a traitor and kill him immediately on the spot. Or 2, they just treat him like everyone else and, like, throw Cybermen at him. So, I mean, personally, I don't think Raditz would get much stronger because he's already so weak, and I think that he would have already had time to train. But what do you guys think about this scenario that I'm pitching? I'll start with you this time, MJ.
Well, first of all, I actually really do love that scenario. That's real, dude. You thought outside the box there. I completely forgot about the fact that Piccolo might just say fuck it and just shoot somebody with that thing. I really forgot about that.
He wanted to kill Goku.
Yeah, so I can definitely see something like that happening. But the issue here I have, and before I get into this hypothetical Saiyan arc battle, is would Raditz kill Piccolo or no? Like, I can just see him being pissed off and just double Sundaying his ass.
I agree.
You know?
I completely agree with that. Piccolo couldn't stand a Raditz at that point.
So if that's the case, then okay. I know we kind of just messed up your theory a bit, Scouter. But what happens if he does kill Piccolo, like in a blind of rage after Piccolo shot Goku?
Also,
then
not to interrupt, but also, it doesn't have to necessarily be Raditz. If he's reformed and all this stuff, you still got Gohan to worry about. Like,
yeah,
that's
like Gohan would go ham on fucking Piccolo at that point.
And even if the Dragon Balls were gone, if Vegeta just talked about, like, oh, like, I heard the rumors were true and there are Dragon Balls on this other planet. If he talks about that, or if Goku just goes over to Kaio and asks, like, hey, is there any Dragon Balls on any other planet? Then maybe Kaio could actually inform them. So even if Piccolo were to die,
Oh.
I don't think that this would really be too much of a, I don't know, detriment, because at the end of the day, Goku could revive everyone, even if whenever he got to Earth, everyone was dead.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand personally. Like, look, if Piccolo dies, like MJ was saying, Piccolo dies. There's no reason they're going to Earth. There's no way that Gohan's gonna get trained by Piccolo, and all this other stuff. Now I can imagine a scenario where they all go to Namek, Krillin, and the great adventures of Krillin and Raditz. Oh man, that's
Raditz, Yamcha, Tenshinhan, the
Oh,
dream
yeah, 'cause
team.
That'd be crazy.
yeah. Krillin, Raditz, Yamcha, and Tenshinhan, all go to and Bulma go to Namek together. It'd be kind of cool, but at the same time, like, they're not necessarily training. They don't necessarily think that anything. Maybe unless Raditz is like, oh yeah, JK, or oops, now
Did
those
it
other
again?
guys are gonna go. Those other guys are gonna go. So maybe we should train or something. I don't know, but I was talking before we actually started recording about, does Raditz train? I mean, I never got the impression that any of them fought to, like, hard fights before. It seems like a real plot convenience that Raditz goes to get Goku because he needs someone to help them fight, just considering how strong they made not only Raditz, in terms of, not only Raditz when you look in not only terms of just at that point in the series, but even where we are now in Dragon Ball Super, considering all the best fighters from the entire Universe 7 are from Earth.
There's an old video about how strong the Saiyans were or something like that. I think that Geekdom and Mike did, and Mike proposed a theory to why Raditz was so weak compared to Vegeta and Nappa, was that Raditz is still, even though he was hanging out with Nappa and Vegeta, he was still a low-class warrior. That's what his rank was. So he was still sent, I guess, maybe to another planet when he was a baby. And if that's the case, Mike proposed the idea that maybe Raditz had actually never been to Planet Vegeta. And if that was the case, he never got to train under the 10 times gravity that Planet Vegeta had.
I actually really like that.
So that's why he thinks that Raditz was so much weaker compared to Nappa and Vegeta, that he never actually got accustomed to 10 times gravity. In my opinion.
But even regardless, like I was saying before, look, you can't necessarily, if Nappa lives, and if Nappa gets some kind of the itch for training the same way Goku got the itch for training in Dragon Ball, because look, the way they've handled Saiyans throughout the entire series is there's just something innate in them that wants them to fight and wants them to constantly improve and get better about themselves. And the weird thing about the early days of Dragon Ball Super, where they had to deal with an enormous amount of Saiyans, even 4 of them. Like, you have to deal with like 4 more Saiyans who weren't in the series at the very beginning. Oh my god. But like, yeah, it became really apparent that Goku was the only one who liked to train. Vegeta never trained until Goku whooped his ass. Or at least Goku showed him the benefits that, yeah, maybe if a low-class warrior trains, maybe he can actually start getting, maybe he can become an elite. Maybe he can become a Super Saiyan. Maybe he could get even further beyond. And I take that like as it is. It's something that's kind of inherent in the story. But another thing that's also inherent is there's something screwed up about Bardock's gene pool in terms of the entire Saiyan heritage. Because like I said, maybe they necessarily weren't training. Maybe they thought too highly of themselves to train and push themselves as hard as they could. And everyone was just waiting for the next Broly. But at the same time, like, there's something about Goku that constantly pushes him beyond and the next limit that Vegeta has never been able to until they actually made Super, in order to compete with and actually stay on the same level. Basically, in Super, the only reason that they are remotely even close to being in the same level is because the plot kind of demands it. And even then, Goku stays ahead of Vegeta just because he knows like one special technique that he learned way, way, way long ago, and all this other stuff that they're showing, at least as far as we go. So when you talk about Raditz coming in and potentially being somewhat useful, considering where he was, considering how his base level was, even if he had had a hard life and everything, considering how much Goku trained throughout all of Dragon Ball. You have to imagine, I think it's kind of clear from what we've seen, is that Raditz, if he trained, probably would have a crazy amount of potential even compared to Goku. We just never got that concept of him. We never got that side of him, that never got that narrative. And that's why I feel like a lot of people really can't see it that way. For a lot of people, Raditz is basically just a punchline more than he is like anything worth talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really figure out where he would be because we actually have no future reference of where he would be really in any, like, fan manga or anything like that. Or even just, like, because, I mean, he's wiped out, like, in the first manga of the Dragon Ball Z portion of the manga. So, I mean, I don't actually see Raditz actually being useful in the series in the long term. I actually think he'd be dropped off right after the Frieza arc, probably like the rest of the human characters. Because after the Frieza arc, if you're not a Super Saiyan, you're basically useless. And that's the whole saying.
Yeah.
I completely agree. If he doesn't die in the Sand arc, he'll die in the Namek arc. Whether it was by the Doria Zarbon or the Ginyu Force, somebody's killing him.
Because I mean,
I don't know who.
So Raditz is power hungry, but he doesn't have the same personality as Vegeta to be the best. I mean, Raditz was perfectly, like, content just overpowering Goku and Piccolo, and, like, I don't know, just boasting about how high and mighty he was to them, so there's that, too. But this is also...
He's a dick.
He is, but this is also a scenario where he actually gives a shit about Goku, so there's that.
I think that's the weird thing, is it's a scenario that where he actually gives a shit about Goku, Gohan, and all the other people, which is so far and beyond his own character that we saw even just in a couple episodes or a couple chapters in the manga. It's hard to put all these emotions in him, like that he would be capable of this kind of compassion, this kind of emotion or something. So we're really just going way off the railing here in terms of actually trying to figure out how his presence would have impacted the future of the story. Personally, like you said, and I'm just going to go off on this, I feel like you have Piccolo kill Goku, maybe even kill Raditz. Yeah, like, let's take it to, like, kill Goku, push him out of the way, Raditz is okay. Raditz, not knowing about the Dragon Balls at the time, I feel like is still strong enough to kill Piccolo, and then having compassion, saving Gohan, Krillin, Roshi, and Bulma show up, talk about the Dragon Balls. Maybe that's when Vegeta and Nappa hear it. They are coming to Earth to, not only pick up Raditz, but also get the Dragon Balls. But at the same time, the Dragon Balls are gone. I mean, they would have known that, so maybe that doesn't happen at all. But maybe just hearing about it, they go to Namek. Because of this, Frieza goes to Namek. Because of this, Mr. Popo shows them the spaceship. They go to Namek, like we said. All big fight and everything. And yeah, like, I don't necessarily see, like you said, Raditz surviving that arc, but his presence there would have been kind of interesting to see. And considering the fact that they could have used the Dragon Balls in order to wish back Goku into the fight, would have been actually kind of cool.
I mean, that's true. I think that the only thing that would really be a heartfelt moment in the Frieza arc is maybe if Raditz died in front of Goku's eyes. That's one thing.
Yeah, basically taking Vegeta's place.
Kinda, yeah. Or maybe both of them dying. What about... Sorry, MJ. I mean to keep interrupting.
No, all the Saiyans die. Like, literally, besides Gohan, yeah, like, what if Nappa, Vegeta, and Raditz died fighting Frieza? I think that would have been kind of cool.
That would.
What if everybody died and just, like, Frieza went on to live happily ever after?
Dragon Ball Super Frieza.
Gotta watch Once Upon a Time now.
Exactly. Anyway, like, that's just, like, I do think that would have been pretty cool. But yeah, in terms of Raditz for his, I guess, usefulness for the entire series, I would imagine that it would go only as far, like you said, as the Namek arc, as fighting Frieza. And then it would be logic based as to why he doesn't necessarily come back. And Like, why they wouldn't wish him back is beyond me. But
Well, what if Cell ended up getting Raditz's cells? Maybe he could be relevant in that arc. I'm just kidding. I think that's kind of going too far into the rabbit hole at this point.
I mean, it just depends on which theory you want to go with. Do you want to go with the theory that you went with, where Piccolo tells him about the Dragon Balls? I don't give a shit what happened to Goku. His friends will probably wish him back. Rather be like, oh, so y'all guys have these wish orbs, okay? So my brother's coming back. So you have that scenario where maybe Piccolo still joins in on the Saiyan battle, but the fact that Raditz is there, you brought up a good point. Do they play with them? I think whether they play with them or whether Vegeta kills him instantly for being a traitor, I'm pretty sure Raditz dies in that arc. Now, whether you go with our theory, I guess what me and Rotorua went with, where Raditz or Gohan kills Piccolo out of rage because of what he did to Goku, and then they have to go to Namek, then I feel like Raditz would die on Namek, either to Vegeta, Nappa, or to Frieza and his men. In my opinion, I don't see him really surviving whichever arc he stays in, the Saiyan arc or in the Namek arc.
But having his
in my opinion,
but having his death means something more than just like, oh, Goku, you have a brother. JK, never mind, he's not important. Like, for the most part, like, I guess the whole point of this video, really, for me at least, is the fact that Goku having a brother, at least making Raditz Goku's brother, was an unneeded plot point, considering Raditz's entire purpose is to drop the bombshell that Goku is in fact an alien and not necessarily a human. Throwing the fact that he is actually his blood only serves to make it stranger that he never played a bigger role.
That's true. But do you guys have any more to add on this discussion before we wrap it up?
No, I'm good, man.
All right.
I'm alright.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for joining me. And, guys, if you haven't checked out MJ from GeekListTV or Mark from Reel to Reel, go ahead and subscribe to their channels. I'm going to leave their links right up here on the screen right now. But, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and tune in for the next video. Have a great day.